Sunday night, the story has been completed. Congratulations, Cody Rhodes. And then we have this bombshell of a news, kind of almost out of nowhere. Some of you may have heard this. I mean, some Twitter accounts were kind of talking about it earlier this morning. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I didn't really even give it any mind. Uh, Obviously, I'm talking about John Calipari. Um, Having being basically essentially it's done, according to Pete Thamel and all the bigwigs who are reporting this. It looks like John Calipari is going to leave his lifetime contract that he has with Kentucky, and he's going to take the job at Arkansas. Uh, I mean, this I know it's not directly Illini news, but I think when the Kentucky job opens up, it's notable. It's arguably the best job in college basketball. And so me just kind of thinking it over. I mean, first off, relax. It's a Sunday night, so this is not an official episode or anything. It's whoever's up now. It's about 10:40 at night. I would love to hear your thoughts, your opinions. It's just kind of very casual Sunday evening vibes that I'm going for. But I mean, I got to thinking, and I started having this conversation with a couple of folks on Twitter. Is How high up is Brad Underwood in the call list? He's got to be there somewhere. I mean, he's probably not the first phone call. He's not going to be the first phone call. The guy coaching tomorrow night has to be the first phone call. You need to make Dan Hurley say no. And I mean, whatever deal Calipari has, you need to go and offer the same thing to Dan Hurley. And again, Hurley's got a machine going at UConn, so he very well might not be interested, but he might. So this is one of those where, yeah, if I'm Kentucky, Dan Hurley is clearly the number one choice. Then you have Nate Oates, another, I feel like, a natural pick there. I think he would take the job, and he's done such a fantastic job with Alabama. I think he's a guy that he's probably the safest bet. I don't know if the gambling websites have come out with odds yet on who's going to get that job. I think Nate Oates just kind of makes the most sense um, when you just kind of look at the big picture. But then who else? Chris Beard comes to mind, but he may not have really proven enough. Like he's still, kind of got that stench on him from the whole Texas thing. I mean, supposedly he turned down the Arkansas job, so it would be funny if the guy who turned down the Arkansas job ended up working out and him coaching Kentucky, I guess. But I mean, now we're talking at the point, like, I mean, Underwood's got to be called before Chris Beard. Underwood has to be called before. I'm trying to think. Am I missing someone? Again, mention in the comments if there's someone that you think I could be thinking about that I'm just forgetting, and I could be forgetting. It's late Sunday night. I got a flight early tomorrow morning. I'll be heading to Austin. So, but yeah, Brad's got to be called, and if nothing else, what we know is going to happen is Brad's about to get a raise out of all this. I'll tell you that much. He's his agent is as good as there is. I think he's already like eighth or ninth highest paid coach in the country. You can add a couple $100,000 to that total. I feel like before all is going to be said and done. Obviously, he's now reached the point of he got to the Elite Eight last year, so like that stigma that comes with him is gone. Ben, thank you for chiming in. It's Underwood to Alabama that would worry me more. Maybe, but I mean, Brad seems like a Midwestern guy. He, he got his coaching at Kansas State. I mean, you're right. I mean, he was in Texas for a year, or in Oklahoma State. So you know what? No, I think you're right, Ben. That's something I didn't even think about. So now there's two jobs I'm worried about. Thanks, Ben. Um, yeah, I mean, if I'm Alabama, now for sure Brad Underwood's going to get paid. Caitlin, thank you for watching. Pay him whatever it takes to get him to stay. Honestly, I don't want to lose Underwood. I don't either. And this is kind of just unfortunate because there's only 3 or 4 jobs that I could even think about that I wouldn't even remotely blame Brad for leaving. And if, and again, I'm being very, I'm emphasizing that this is a big if. This is just Sunday dialogue. I'm not reporting anything. I'm just simply having conversation with the community here. If Kentucky showed any sort of interest, I don't think there's a raise in the world that we'd be able to give to get Brad to stay. Brad likes being the Illinois head coach, but and again, any of you who watch our show know I'm a big Brad guy. I like Brad. I've always enjoyed Brad, but I wouldn't necessarily say, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's a guy that just bleeds orange and blue. Or, yeah, orange and blue. So for him, if the right opportunity were to come along, and Kentucky is certainly one of them, a no-brainer one. Alabama, that is a good job, and the SEC is going to pay. And I don't think I don't think their expectations are as high as we have it here at Illinois, at least amongst fan bases. The Alabama crowd, they're focused on football. One sec, I'm just double checking. Yeah. So, one second, folks. Just had another thought in my mind. All right, sorry. Let's see. Okay, on the mark. The Chin and Orlando connection makes me nervous. They can keep their assistants and bring a new coach, which is rare. I'd imagine if I'm Kentucky, I want a clean house. I can't imagine a situation where Chin and Antigua. I mean, from what I know, and I don't know that program all that well, so I could be talking out of my butt, but I know there's certain memes that are already coming out where they're talking about being happy that at least Chin is gone. And I know there was kind of a mostly positive vibes about Chin here, but a lot of Illini fans, and I think it is deservedly, felt kind of slighted that they both left. Antigua, fine, he's known as one of the best assistants in the country. Chin, was recruiting Chicago for us, and him leaving, like, I'm sure they're all on friendly terms, but I can't imagine. I don't think I think Brad would go in a different direction if he were to stay at if he would go to Kentucky. I don't know if he would take any of our assistants. Obviously, some of you know there's been assistants drama, which I think is nothing. But you know, is Chet ready to be a head coach somewhere? Tim Anderson isn't, but Frazier might think Illinois job would probably be a little bit too big for him. He'd probably have to start at a mid-major somewhere. I can't imagine Frazier would leave his alma mater to take the same job as an assistant with Brad in Kentucky. Ben chiming in again. Silver lining Porter Moser. Ben, you're two for two. I've liked both your comments today. Yeah, he's absolutely a guy that we would have to at least consider should Brad leave. And again, for those of you tuning in now, we've got about 24 people watching. I appreciate it. I'm not reporting anything. This is simply me having a conversation with my friends. My just thinking out loud. You know, it's Sunday night. Obviously, this news is dropping everywhere. If you've never been here before, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. I would sincerely appreciate it. Um, Jay, thank you for chiming in. And usually I have a rule for not accepting any comments from Cardinals fans, but I'll be okay with this. I was at the Cubs game yesterday, and we lost, but we did win the series against the Dodgers today. Underwood is 60. I highly doubt if Kentucky would be calling. They probably want a younger coach. Probably. Again, Oates just makes the most sense to me when you talk about the candidates. Um, Again, that's if Hurley says no. Because if Hurley says yes, you just ask him, blank check, whatever you want. But if he says no, I think Oates is just a natural guy. He works in the conference already. On the mark, thank you for chiming in. I want Brad to stay, but I also trust Whitman, which is a nice luxury. Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky, and those folks who don't follow Illini athletics don't understand like how fortunate we are to have a guy like Josh Whitman in charge of our program. I think outside Fahey, all his hires have been understandable. Lovey ultimately didn't work out, but when he made the hire, it made all the sense in the world to me. And ultimately, what we didn't all know is Lovey's mentally had checked out, and so obviously that was a firing that Whitman had to make. But then he brought on Brett Bielema, who, in my opinion, is the exact type of coach that the university needs on the football side. A guy who I think might very well be a lifer. He's a program builder. He doesn't need the highest recruits. He's simply going to coach them up, and that's kind of what we need. But I'm trying to think, so Hurley, Oates. Who else am I missing? Am I missing anyone? Group chat says Billy Donovan. I mean, I guess that's an option. I think Billy gets. I mean, I'm a Bulls fan, so I would love it if Kentucky went after Billy Donovan. I think he's just a B- coach, and that franchise is so stale. Does Billy want to go coach college again? I don't think so. I can't imagine he does. Like, he's made so much money in the NBA now. He's been there for so long between the Thunder and the Bulls. I can't imagine wanting to go back to college and deal with NIL and these 18-year-olds and texting 17-year-olds and being on the recruiting trail. By the way, I'm so close to 700 subscribers. If you guys can help me out, that would be so wonderful. If you guys are watching this for the first time, just hit a like button or something, or subscribe button. That'd be wonderful. It's a big week for me. Um, I'll have a couple announcements which I'll make later on this week, but our channel keeps growing, and it's all because of guys and gals like you. All we do is share an enthusiasm in Illinois sports, and that's why on a late Sunday night, there's a few dozen of you up here watching this with me, just talking about Brad. All that he's done for our program. Obviously, again, I'm a huge Brad guy. I think he's essentially become the best coach that I can remember, and I'm a little older, but I'm not quite Lou Henson old. So obviously Lou Henson's got the accolades and the history behind him. But what Brad has done with this program, and now Purdue plays tomorrow night, and I know like those two coaches get compared a lot, and there's a lot of animosity between the two fan bases. But Matt Painter's been there for 19 years, 19 years, and he's making this national championship. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, dead on, like if Brad Underwood is here for 19 years, I think we make a national championship too. Comment, give me a comment if you agree with me or you don't. I think right now we're slowly building up every year, trying to be better than the previous one. We have a head coach for now who's constantly adjusting, who reads the tea leaves, sees where college basketball is going, and he tries to be aggressive in trying to make any, you know, just he wants to be preemptive, which is what I want. We have guys in like East Lansing, who have a legendary coach, but who isn't really willing to adjust, or he hasn't been. And you see the fan base starting to get frustrated on the football side. You see the whole Dabo and him not embracing the transfer portal. Bruce, sorry, I read a comment. Brad is one of the first guys who attacked that portal. Okay, let me just get this comment out of the way, just because it distracted me. On the mark, some suggestions were Jay Wright, Scott Drew, Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl oozes Kentucky head coach in the worst way. You're absolutely right. I mean, if there's one match that is just disgusting, it's those two. And I can Bruce would jump at it, obviously. And honestly wouldn't be the worst hire for Kentucky. Just thinking about that. Jay checking in again. Think Illinois fans still nervous about Self leaving. The difference to me was Self was an upcoming young coach. Yeah, well, I mean, it's also, we have to have a self realization about where Illinois is right now when it comes to the pecking order of basketball programs. I've said this before. We're lower than we think we are, but we're higher than some of our competitors think we are as a basketball program. I think we're like a 15 to 25 range when it comes to best jobs in the country. And a lot of that just has to do with like we are such a basketball crazy school. I mean, I like football more than I like basketball, but I know where my bread is buttered, and that's by you guys because you guys like basketball content. And I know that because when I talk basketball, I get crazy numbers. When I talk the other sports, not as much. But with that tenacity, with that, you know, rabidness comes what some people say is unrealistic expectations. This is a school that can absolutely win a national championship. And I do think, as I said before, the reason I'm not really that upset with the Boilermakers potentially winning the national championship tomorrow night, yeah, it's going to be hard dealing with that fan base, especially as some of you guys who do watch know that their legion tends to come on our show and try to troll us a little bit. Just fans being fans. It is what it is. But I genuinely think if Brad's in charge for as long as Painter's been in charge, Brad's going to get us there too. Aaron's one of the guys I was going back and forth with on Twitter. Thank you for joining me on YouTube here. Brad is Henson 2.0. Henson's reputation was getting players by playing the current environment well. He was below average game coach like Brad. NCAA sanctions derailed Henson. Yes, unfortunately, again, Bruce Pearl, not a guy I would ever want to see in the street. Um, I wouldn't have anything nice to say about him. And I'm actually kind of relieved that when they got knocked out of the tournament, just how many people kind of celebrated online. And I'm not even talking about Illinois people. I think there's a lot of people that simply don't like Bruce Pearl. Ben chiming, according to the AP as a program, we are number 11 historically. Okay. I mean, that seems a little high to me, but I don't know what the qualifications for that are, right? You have the blue bloods. We're not a blue blood. I mean, we historically, even if we look in the Big Ten, Indiana is ahead of us. Let's just okay. This is I don't think there's any Indiana fans here watching, so no one's going to be gleeing over that. I'm just being realistic, looking at the history of college basketball. Indiana, Michigan State are the two Big Ten teams, which I would say are clearly above where we are. And that again, that doesn't mean anything about where our current situation is. Right now, I think no one outside maybe Purdue is in a better situation as a program in the Big Ten than Illinois. And I wouldn't trade places with anyone, and that includes Matt Painter, Purdue. It's going to be interesting to see how life post ED exists for Matt, who I hold in very high regard. I think he's one of the three best coaches in the country. But you're talking about so at least third in the Big Ten, and I might be missing someone. If I am, please comment. And you have the Dukes, North Carolina, Kentucky, UConn. So that's like 7 or 8 right there. And that's just without really putting much thought into it. UCLA, you have to put them ahead of us. I mean, just consider the amount of championships they have. And I guess like that kind of right now, that's, and I know there's some I'm not thinking about, but I think 11 is a little high. 15 is probably where I would think about. Like we're kind of the best of the rest. But I absolutely think by the time Brad's done, we could be reaching that top dozen or so. Yep. Thank you for tuning in. Is Patino even an option? I'm a Louisville diehard fan, and if UK gets Patino, I will not be able to sleep tonight. That would be amazing. I'm not gonna lie, that would be amazing. Yep. Okay, sincerest apologies to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm speaking as a complete neutral observer. Patino obviously said the other day that his biggest regret was leaving the Kentucky job to go into the NBA. He said that he still wishes he had not done that. Now, I don't think Kentucky would hold any interest in bringing Rick Pitino back. I think, I mean, if we're talking Brad Underwood being old, I mean, Pitino's got to be older than Brad. But if you're talking about just pure storyline magic, Pitino back would that would be entertaining as heck. I mean, you're talking about just two peas in a pod. Let me see if I've missed any. No, we're good. But yeah, I mean, again, we know Brad's going to get a raise out of this, and dealing with our fan base can be hard and trouble. But I mean, if you think we're bad, just imagine what Kentucky Twitter's like. I mean, you take one peek into what Kentucky Twitter. I mean, your expectations. I'm talking about Illinois expectations being high. Kentucky, you're either Final Four or you failed. Is that something Brad wants to do now? But it's Kentucky. In my opinion, the best job in college basketball. Outside maybe North Carolina. I'd probably rate it Kentucky, North Carolina, and then UConn. UConn's obviously the most successful, so UConn, please Their fans are pretty rabid as well. Don't come after me. Jason, thank you for checking in. Duke is, of course, right up there, too. I just think I want to see Duke do more outside the Coach K era. Obviously, we'll see what John Shire, former Illinois recruiting story. I'll put it that way. I want to see what he does with the Duke program. I think the Kentuckys and the North Carolinas and the Yukons are kind of more regardless of who is head coach. We just know they're going to be good. And Duke is most likely there too. I mean, Duke would probably be number 4 if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But I think it's actually one notch below the other jobs. Aaron chiming in. Illinois, the Ohio State, Purdue, Michigan are close historically. Illinois is just behind that Louisville, Arizona, Syracuse group as like near the top of the third tier type of programs. Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a pretty even keeled fan, and like some of you don't like that. That I don't, I may not necessarily be a cheerleader all the time, but I mean, I think we're historically better than Ohio State and Purdue. Michigan, of course, has that era that we don't talk about anymore, which is not allowed to talk about anymore. But I mean, historically, I'd probably still put Michigan. We're tied with Michigan. For now, I'll say we're tied with Michigan, and that's without looking at any of the stats. But I think we're better than Ohio State. I think we're better than Purdue. Again, the only ones I can think of off the top of my head, yeah, Michigan State, obviously, with especially in regards to the Izzo era, and Indiana, just because when our daddy's dads were watching college basketball, they were good back then, and so I guess that kind of carries over. Yep. What was your last question? Also, what are your thoughts on Pat Kelsey? You're right for UK. Patina would be great, but I hate to watch them win. Give me 1 second. Yep. Pat Kelsey. Oh, the new Louisville coach. Yeah, you're a fan of Louisville. I mean, he's going to be way better than what you just had. I mean, talk about just a situation that just didn't work, and I genuinely felt bad for him. What was his name? I forgot his name now. Just because like the firing should have happened a long time ago. But I mean, outside that, I know he's got a good name. Yep, I'm sorry. I've got 2 shows. Follow me at the other one too. It's called at Big Ten Show. We're doing really well over there. So most of my attention is on the Big Ten, Illinois basketball, and soon to be. Some of you know if you guys are big college football fans and you know Mark Rogers, who's one of the biggest names in the YouTube space. I'm working with him because some of you know I'm moving to Austin, and so I'm going to be helping him cover the Texas Longhorns down there as a day job sort of thing. While, of course, my passion still lies with you guys here on the Illini show in the evening. Aaron says about 15ish. Yeah, which is what I said. And again, maybe this is now that we're in the off season, I'll Austin and I or someone else, me and the armchair Illini people, if any of you guys folks are watching, I think it'd be a fun exercise, just to see where we think we lie. But Aaron, I think that's what I initially said, that we'd be around the 15 range, and I think for now that's just going to be what I kind of stick with. Again, if you guys are watching this for the first time, We have about 44 of you watching across all the platforms. I appreciate that so much. 691 subscribers. Can I hit nine? Nine more? If it costs you guys nothing, I don't ask for money. I don't ask for anything. If you don't mind hitting that like button or just hit that subscribe button, that would be amazing. Thank you. Jason chiming in, Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's like Wisconsin's always been good, right? But I don't know if they've had the ceiling that we do per se. Now, again, I say ceiling, but they've been to Final Four more recently. So I mean, you might be right. I might be overlooking Wisconsin. It was a list I came off the top of my head. I think it's going to be a good exercise for a future episode, especially now we're in the off season. Aaron says the Ohio State has the titles in the '60s. I believe you. Yeah, yeah. Yep, that's right. Kenny Payne. Whew. Yep. I think all of us are grateful that that's done with. How many years does Brad have left on his contract? Also wish he would bring in real coaches rather than his son and Hamer on the coaching staff. I mean, I think he's got like 6-year contract, and I think he's actually. I don't mind. I know there's a certain level of hatred for Tyler Underwood, but I like from everything I know of the people in the industry, Tyler's on the right path. Yeah, it's his father's staff, and so that in some sort of ways kind of looks like nepotism. But the people who I do know that are in the program, Tyler doesn't take anything for granted. He is doing every single role that a person in his position does. He doesn't feel entitled. He's simply he's doing the work. And honestly, like people like him. It's not like the Lovey situation where he was hiring his own sons, but they were completely way overqualified or underqualified and not deserving of the jobs. Tyler's starting from the bottom, are relatively close to the bottom. And I mean, I would be surprised if he's here necessarily much longer than another year or two, just because of the general, trajectory of a college basketball coach. You've got to learn from different people, different systems. Brad's given him his start, but we'll see. Illini basketball podcast. My brothers from the Armchair Illini, they had an episode earlier today. Definitely check them out. They kind of recapped everything that's going on with the season, Illini basketball in general. They're way better at this than I am. So if you like my show, definitely go watch theirs. JR's ranking. JR had a big announcement today too. Well, I won't spoil. I think they're making the official announcement on Tuesday, but no, Brad, don't leave. I know. I don't think he will. I think all that's coming from this is he's going to get paid a lot more money. But if we're going to be honest with it, that's fine. Like it's the fact that the Illinois head coach for us is being considered, we think, for Kentucky. How many coaches have we had in the past would be considered for the top job in college basketball? Just one, Bill Self, and he ultimately left. But like that in itself, it shows you how far along our program has come. Again, if Brad left for Kentucky, no rational Illinois fan can be upset with him. The coaching staff is fine. Yeah, I mean, I like our guys. I actually like all three. I think they're all very good at the roles that they were hired on for. The famous Jeff Reed. This is out of the blue. Yeah, I mean Sunday night again. I don't know how many of you did, but the WrestleMania was on, so that ended. I just decided to check Twitter, and I'm like, "What? Calipari where?" And then I started having conversations with Aaron, who was in this chat earlier, and we were just talking about could Brad be considered, and so he decided to. I was like, why not? It's Sunday night, and look at. I mean, I have like 84 of you and 44 on YouTube right now are watching, just having this Sunday night conversation. I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing to wait, go to bed, but I appreciate it. Jason, just found you tonight, digging the show, man. Liked and subscribed. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Jason. And let's see, where are we at so far? 693. If by some chance we can get 7 more tonight, and again, just check the button real quick to see if you're subscribed to the channel, because you may have watched me once or twice, and so I'm in your algorithm, but you've not technically subscribed yet, and that's what helps channels like me. I'm on racing to 1,000. I'm so grateful, and I said this to you guys before. I started this in August. I had a very severe accident last year, and so my communication, and even now, I tend to stutter and freeze at times, but it's just part of my concussion healing process. And now it's April 7th, and if you take a look at YouTube, I think I'm like the second or third biggest Illinois channel out there, and that's behind like the mega media companies, 24/7 and such. So, Jason, it's thank you so much for subbing, and I'm just very lucky. I enjoy the heck out of this. I enjoy talking Illini football, Illini basketball. Now, working together with the Illini basketball podcast and the Armchair Illini guys, like I think we all had the same vision, the same goals, and that's just to kind of help each other out. And check the website out. They've got such good writers on that. Shout out Kirkland, who's been on this show before. But yeah, thank you. JR already made the announcement. Congrats to you, Sonny, on working with Armchair Illini. It's well deserved to my favorite Illinois podcast out there. JR, love you, brother. Aaron, Wisconsin was bad before Bennett got the job. Historically, not good. Last 25 years, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking. I mean, Bennett they've been very good. Bo Ryan obviously was like, he had that program running. Greg Gard, a lot of people are kind of iffy on. Even right now, if you talk to the Wisconsin fan base and you get the temperature of that crowd, I would say it's very close to 50-50. He's a good coach, but it seems like he has a limited ceiling, but it also seems like he has a pretty high floor. And Rao. In Josh, I trust. I do not trust Brad. I mean, I have nothing wrong with. I mean, if again, Brad is doing what Brad should be doing, and it's funny. Like, I'm entertaining the idea in my head that his agent's going to find this exact YouTube show that we're all doing right now, and he's just going to send it to Whitman to just get that bump, couple 100K bump in price. And if that's what he's doing, that's what Brad should do. Brad doesn't need to have loyalty to the University of Illinois. We have a loyalty. Some of us have degrees from the University of Illinois. Some of us, like our parents, were watching Illinois, so that's why we have kind of followed their path. Some of us, just live in central Illinois, and so that's why we are Illini. Brad doesn't necessarily have that. He doesn't owe us anything. It's a business, especially now more than anything else. Like, you see that college basketball is less about amateurs now than it's ever been. It's a professional business just as much as the NBA is, just as much as the NFL is. And Brad, he's been good to us. Like, he's again, I said this before. He's the best coach of my generation. I love where we're at, and again, congrats to our Purdue friends. To the east, but they've been in this cycle longer than we have. Matt Painter's next year is going to be year 20 for him. Brad's been here for what, 7, 8? I'm curious. I said this earlier. Tell me if you agree with me or not. I think, and I consider myself a pretty even keeled Illini fan. I think if Brad is here for 19 years, for 20 years, we have a national championship appearance. I think we'd have more than one Final Four appearance. Matt just got his first. I think if Brad stays that long and we continue on the trajectory that we're at, we'll see. Jeffrey says, read that if Brad stays, Store is coming. Yeah, I mean, it was Chin who initially recruited Store to the Illini when he first committed. And then it was Chin leaving to Kentucky that caused Store to decommit from us. And from everything I've read, Kentucky was kind of the big leader in Store's recruitment if he decided to come back to college basketball. And I think I've said this before, and I don't think it's anything secret. But the people I talk to, they say Store thinks he's going to the NBA, and that's his focus. It's the people around him who are just kind of seeking out the college options. But and again, this is okay by me. This is going to be almost strictly a business decision uh, by Store. Does he go purely for the highest NIL? That would probably be Kentucky. But does he still go with Chin gone? Because if Calipari's gone, does he take Chin with him to Arkansas? Is Arkansas in the picture now? Arkansas's got Walmart money, Tyson Foods money. So if it's purely about money and relationship, maybe you take Kentucky off the list of potential suitors for Store, but now you add Alabama. Aaron says the Ohio State has been in 7 championship games, 11 Elite Eights, and 15 Sweet 16s. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously way more well versed in Ohio State basketball than I am, Aaron. That it's not something I'm looking into. I will, I promise. I don't know if I didn't mean to um, talk badly about them. I just think, gun to my head, when I was thinking about the best programs in the Big Ten, I thought Illinois. Right now, I have it at third, but I'll definitely look into the Ohio State a little bit more. 695 subs. Thank you guys. That's I don't need anymore. I don't want to be begging, but if you're not subbed, hit that button. Jeffrey, apprehensive about Store though, as his stats make him look selfish. Team chemistry got us where we're at. Yeah, but I mean, and I saw the Illini basketball podcast guys talk about this earlier, and again, they're way smarter than me, so trust their opinion more than mine. But I think I disagree with them. I think any chance you have to get a former All Big Ten player, a guy who, if he came back to college basketball next year, has the potential to be an All American. I mean, we're probably going to be replacing Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Damask. That's a lot of scoring. 80% of our scoring from last year is gone. I think Store may have underperformed because of the system that he was in. Nobody liked, again, I don't think any Badgers fans are watching this, so I hope I'm not offending anyone, but Store is unique to the basketball player that Wisconsin usually recruits. And I think he was just always a very odd fit with Wisconsin. I think in a system like ours, he could do, at least on the offensive side, as good at. We're not going to replace Terrence Shannon Jr. We're not. Second team All American. But Store could come somewhat close. Like a B version. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I haven't heard any chemistry issues about him at Wisconsin. I know my Wisconsin friends were upset that he's left. They didn't think he's worth the money that he's seeking out, and I'd argue they're right. But I mean, all it takes is one team to think he's worth the money, right? That's just the system that's there now. So if Kentucky thinks he's worth $1 million, guess what? My opinion doesn't matter. I'm a guy on YouTube. Kentucky might decide he's worth $1 million. Alabama might decide, or sorry, Arkansas might decide he's worth $1 million. Jason, yep, that's exactly what I was talking about. Store isn't worth $1 million in my opinion, which is what he's asking for. I agree. I wonder if there's like a list out there of how much like some of the top guys make, because I don't think Store should be in like the top 10. He's not one of the 10 best players in college basketball, but he might be trying to set the market. Aaron, 11 Final Fours for the Ohio State. Aaron, I promise. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. I'll put Ohio State right up there with Illinois. I can put them higher if you want. Um, I'll do more research on that. I assure you. I promise. Let's see where we're at. Aaron, why don't you go check out the Ohio State board? No, 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 Jeffrey. We appreciate everyone. My wife is actually a Buckeye, so she went to she got her degree from Ohio State University. So I have nothing against them. And again, even when I made that comment earlier, it wasn't to talk bad about the Ohio State. It's just me on a Sunday night thinking off the top of my head. But Aaron might be right, and I appreciate you here, Aaron. You can check out the Ohio State shows later. By the way, Jr. from earlier, he does fantastic Ohio State content. Drop the link, Jr. Ben Anderson, that new budget at Arkansas that is rumored to be $6 million for Cal will have Store packing his bags for Fayetteville tonight. Is it $6 million for Cal? Wasn't he making like 7 or 8 at Kentucky? But I mean, this might be one of those where, again, Kentucky is, I would say, the toughest job in college basketball in the sense where you either made it to the Final Four, you either won the national championship, or you failed. There's no in between. There's no rebuilding. I mean, we see what the drama that he's going through right now. Cal may just want to reset that coaching clock for a little bit. Like he may not want to deal with the expectations that come with Kentucky. Jeffrey says, "I just want good chemistry players." Aaron, I'm just saying the Ohio State is much better than people think. Illinois is not ahead of them. They are close, but OSU has much more March success. Scoopy, Brad Underwood, ha ha ha, you can't be serious. Thank you for joining us, Scoopy. I appreciate you. Would AJ then be 2 or 3 here? I mean, I would assume the same role Shannon filled last year 2, 3. It kind of depends on the transfer portal. We need some big guys. Obviously, still think we need a point guard. We don't know the situation with Damask. I wouldn't be optimistic about it, but I guess it's hard to answer that question right now, Jeffrey, when there's still like 4 or 5 slots on the roster that haven't even been filled yet. It's guys who aren't on the team yet. So until we know who's going to be on the team, it's going to be hard. But I think AJ would be a fantastic get for us. Bro, Cal did nothing after 2012. Too busy worried about getting players to the NBA instead of focusing on titles. Why not take that million and get 2 studs in chat instead? I mean, they could be. I don't know. I mean, Store hasn't got that million yet. So until he does, like that might be what teams are doing. Ultimately we'll see what Store's final price tag is. All right. right, Aaron. You mean like their four Final Fours and six Elite Eights in the last 25 years? Don't care for the Ohio State. Lifelong Illini fan with long historical perspective. No more Ohio State talk. All good, Aaron. I appreciate you joining us. Jason says we need a point guard and a big man. Honestly, I'm worried who will be the man for this team. Yeah, I mean, right now, who on this roster is going to be your best player next year? I have no idea. AJ clearly would be. Our best player is probably not on the team yet. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with the transfer portal. Like, it's hard to say who would slot into what spot without knowing who we're slotting. Does Coleman come back? Is the iFund able to offer him enough money to come back and make more money here in Champaign playing another year? But Coleman's not a scorer. We need a point guard, especially if Damas's not here. We lucked into it. And I know it was so cliche at the beginning of the season last year about talking about us not having a point guard being our downfall. And hand up, I was one of those meatheads who kept saying that. But like, I was wrong. Marcus Damask was able to handle most of the share, but Brad built a system where it very much reminded me of like what the NBA looks like now. Just a bunch of wings, a bunch of tall guys who could all pass, who could attack the rim, and our need for a true point guard really wasn't there anymore. We didn't need it, but we need a man for next year. We absolutely do. And again, we've all heard names. Store. I know. I really like this Maddox kid that they're looking at from Toledo. But I mean, do we really want to do this whole Toledo drama again? How'd that go for us with Ray J last year? Stanford, the Raynud guy. I'd love him. And if you don't know anything about him, check his stats out. I think for a guy that big to be able to shoot, and you see now, one of the biggest weaknesses we had was putting Coleman in a situation where he could not win. He was just simply not big enough. I know Illinois says he's like 6'10", but realistically, he's probably like, I think he checked in at like 6'8" at the NBA draft combine last year. To have a big guy down on the block would just make everyone's life a lot easier. Austin, my good friend and co-host, says the roster isn't even close to make a roster needs list. Yeah, I mean it's hard. Right now we're just trying to figure out who's going to be on the team, and now obviously with Cal leaving Kentucky, that's a huge shift because does he take guys with him to Kentucky? The recruits, Kentucky has a good recruiting class every single year. Does he take some of those guys there? Some of the vets at Kentucky, not that they have that many, but are they looking to move? Is there anyone on Kentucky's roster that we can pluck? DGL will make big progress next season. Point G is number one. I hope so. I mean, with all the drama that he's kind of had to deal with, some of it, let's just be fair, related to his own familial members. I'll put it that way. Um, it You would think it's so easy for him to leave, but he seems very enthusiastic about wanting to stay. Obviously, we can't say that about everyone on the team. We've already had people leave. So the fact that he wants to be an Illini, and that's despite not playing probably as much as he wished he could have, but at least for now, it looks like he's bought into the program. And that's what I want in our players right now. I mean, he's a lot better defensively than I thought he was going to be. And he doesn't lack confidence on offense. So, hopefully he sticks around. I think, and again, I'm not as smart as most of the people you watch talking about the Illini, but I think if DGL can somehow just sneak into that Justin Harmon role from this past season, and then maybe like his junior year become one of the alphas on this team, that would be great for everyone. Jason says, "Get Vlad." Yeah, Vlad is the yeah. That's the Stanford guy, right? Yeah, I think so. No Ray J Part Two, waiting and missing out on others. Yeah, I mean that was just TMMT 2171. Thank you for tuning in. I haven't seen you comment before. Report that Billy Donovan is willing to listen to Kentucky. Again, I wonder if for Billy, and again, like for me, I'm a Bulls fan, right? So Billy leaving the Bulls might be another why, similar to why Calipari would leave Kentucky. It's just the fans are over Billy at this point. You know, he was given an extension by the Bulls brass for really no reason whatsoever. But Billy might be at the point where he may just want to reset that coaching clock. You know, get a nice fresh 5, 6, 7 year deal. And again, it's Kentucky, so it looks great on a resume. Oh right, yeah. You're right. Yeah, Vlad is the FAU guy, but no, he's. I think doesn't isn't he the guy who has like the who's basically following Dusty to Michigan? Yeah, sorry guys, I confused my big men. Jeffrey says, "Hit that like, y'all." Absolutely, 696. Awesome. Thank you guys. Um, yeah. Again, if you don't mind, if you're here for the first time, I'm seeing a couple of new names in the chat. I do appreciate it. I'm going to be doing this all off season long. Anytime there's any sort of breaking news with the Illini, uh, I'm going to jump on as quick as I can. Whether it's a recruit, whether it's a decommitment, which might be imminent if some of you have been hearing the same stories as I have. But you know, my goal is to be. We may not be. I might not be the best coverage that you're going to get, but I'll be the first one, and I'll give you someone to talk about. You know what's happening with the Illini basketball team, football team, and even like I'm bringing on someone to talk about the women's basketball team. You know, we can talk about Illini baseball if you guys want. Whatever you guys want. I'm here for you guys. All right. I agree about Billy in terms of Bulls, but going back to college from NBA is crazy. College coaching is absolutely insane right now. NBA is just pure basketball, at least. Yeah, I can't imagine once you've got the taste of the NBA life, and this goes the same for NFL too. If you're a head coach in the NFL or the NBA, and you know what that is like, and you've been paid handsomely for it, I can't imagine wanting to go down a level and deal with teenagers and texting back and forth and trying to woo their parents. And it's just a whole nother, but it's not me. So if Vlad and Janelle Davis go to Michigan, oh boy, yeah. Davis is really good too. Oh man. Spring game, April 20th. So we're what a little less than 2 weeks away from that. We'll do some football coverage. This week's gonna be a little rough for me. I'm doing a lot of traveling. My best friend's getting married this weekend in Cancun, so I'm going to be out of country then. So, I mean, coverage might be a little slow this week. I apologize if something comes on. You know, of course, I'll jump on like I'm doing today. But you know, even if I'm not around, the fine guys at Illini Basketball Podcast and Armchair Illini, they're going to be churning out content for you guys. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys want to talk about. Let me know what you guys want to discuss. You know, now I've now got program rankings, which I'll come up with that list at some point this off season. there's no real off season because again, spring football is about to start, so we'll be talking about that. But we got 33 of you watching on YouTube. Let me know if there's anything else I missed. I can stick around for a little bit longer if we have something to talk about. Again, this is not an official episode. This is just me coming on and hanging out. I see a couple new faces, so I do appreciate that. Those of you tuning in for the first time. But yeah, so the point was, would Brad go to Kentucky or would Kentucky call? I don't think Kentucky will call because I think Dan Hurley is going to be the first phone call and Dan's going to say no because Dan's got an amazing thing going with UConn. And UConn is arguably, I mean, if you're talking about like the last 20, 25 years, probably the best job in the country. Just with their success. They got what? They're going for number 6 tomorrow, I think. By the way, those of you guys watching right now, Purdue or UConn? Does it matter to you guys? I did a poll about this earlier, and it came out pretty even. I think Purdue got most of the votes, but I'm indifferent to it. Usually I'm pro Big Ten, but I don't know. I've gotten some bad vibes from that other fan base that I'm going to be watching. I know it's going to be a fantastic game, but I'm not sure if I have a preference on who wins tomorrow. All right, folks. I think I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it up then. Chat's slowing down a little bit. Again, I appreciate you guys all for watching. It's 11:40. I got a flight tomorrow. I'm going down to Texas. If any of you guys are in Texas, Austin area, hit me up. Let me buy you a beer. I'm going to be there for a little bit. Jason, Matt Painter loses. Would he take that Kentucky job if they call? I don't think so. I think Matt's locked in and he's got a job for life at Purdue. I think that's just, and I mean this like Matt Painter truly does seem to me like he's one of the good guys in the sport. So I don't see him leaving. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. I got my @IlliniCast right there. You see it under my name right here. See how cool that was. Right there is Armchair Illini, who is producing Illinois content constantly. And thank you all for joining me today. We are at 696 subs. So on your way out, if you're not subbed, if you can hit that button, I would appreciate that. But regardless, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully we'll hit 700 this week. Send this to your friends. Send to any Illini fans in your life. I'm going to be up for a little bit longer if you want to continue this discourse on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Send me a DM. Let's chat it up. And thank you all for joining. Again, if there's anything breaking, we'll talk about it. I'll come on. If somehow Brad Underwood is the next coach at Kentucky, you heard it here first. So credit Sonny Verma from IlliniCast. No, I'm kidding. You guys all have a wonderful night.